Hi, my name is Catherine McKinney Rowley, and today I'm going to be talking about growing up in the tech ages from some information that I gathered from my dad, Pat Rowley. In today's world, we live in a very technology-focused world. We have a computer at our fingertips, and we have new and improved laptops, cars that even have computers in them. Today, so my dad is 62, I believe. So I asked him a little bit about like his life growing up, and kind of looking in a little bit before he was born, and just certain things that we saw kind of emerge technology wise. We'll also be looking at the emergence of social media because clearly social media is a very prevalent and real thing for today and for today's youth and adults. So yeah, we will be looking at the technology of the last 70 years of new innovations and inventions and the emergence of social media. So today we're going to start out in the 50s. In the 50s, clearly the United States is coming off of the world wars that occurred. And this, believe it or not, the world wars actually did also affect technology. So most radios and TVs were very limited because there was so much talk about the world wars or reporting of the world wars. TVs were mostly black and white until 1954. Radios, jukeboxes, typewriters were the main other three types of technologies that you would have seen in the 50s. Radios were also pretty limited as well. It was usually just kind of a couple stations, not very many, not what we see today. Jukeboxes are still around, but they're not as prevalent as they used to be. Typewriters, I think everyone kind of knows what a typewriter is. Typewriters were definitely kind of the stepping stones for computer, for computers. So we have these four extremely important technologies in the 50s, and let's go see what's in the 60s. So in the 60s, we see the emergence of the cassette tapes, some of the first computers, computer mouses, the first game console, and record players. Clearly, these laptops were they weren't even laptops. They were giant IBM machines that were very complex to figure out and very hard at first for people to figure out how to use them, but they were very smart. Computer mouses were also a part of the smaller desktop versions of IBM machines, but IBM machines were still the very first computer, and they were quite large too. They would usually take up a large room and take it up to 10 people to run the whole thing. Our first gaming console also came out. Clearly today we have Xbox, PlayStations, other gaming consoles that are very, very prevalent in today's society. Most of these games were like the Oregon Trail. Nintendo was big. They weren't like Halo or Fallout Reach or any of those more violent games that we see today. Record players were also a more transportable version of a jukebox, and they came in different sizes and shapes. The first ones were pretty large, however. So my dad grew up mostly in the 60s, 70s, and somewhat in the 80s, but he was in college. So according to my dad, most of the time in the 70s or 80s or 60s, my grandma would let them listen to cassette tapes, and then records on the record player. They had a pretty small record player, and then radio was also only like 2 or 3 stations for a while, and because it was only AM. In the 70s, emails came out. Intel 404 came 004 came out, Apple II, so the emergence of Apple, Walkmans, which were more portable, cassette tape players, TR-80s, and then digital cameras were also starting to come out. The first digital cameras did not have sound, and they were very much, and so the first video cameras had no sound whatsoever, and they were all in color. The new digital cameras started to replace the Polaroids. So in the 80s, we kind of see somewhat of a technology boom. So we do have the first VHS tapes coming out, the first personal computers coming out. These were very large and not like any type of computer that we have today. VCRs, so to play cassette tapes with, which were also the stepping stones for online streaming services and DVD players. Camcorders, so a mix of digital cameras and video cameras started to come out with sound and picture combined. Cable TV also came out. So there was more ability to watch more than just what was on or the same 5 channels every day. Answering machines, cell phones. Cell phones were also very brick at this point and mostly in your car. They did not have mobile phones like we're seeing today until the late 90s, early 2000s. And then fax machines also started to make an appearance. So now we have the 90s. In the 90s, we started to see the World Wide Web, so www, Linux, Java, so different types of coding programs. We also see 2G cell phones, so very, very basic phones. The Toyota Prius was also created, and then USB flash drives for more advanced laptops from the 80s, DVRs, and portable MP3 players. So a better version of a Walkman emerges in the 90s. So after the 90s, we have the 2000s, and this we see the Apple iPad and iPhone come out. It was very, very basic compared to what we have now. We also see the emergence of Androids, and then we also see the emergence of social media, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, just to name 3 of them. And then we also see the emergence of Fitbit. Obviously, Facebook is one of the biggest companies worldwide, and they do own quite a bit of other social media companies that will come out in the 2010s. But we do see technology start to get smaller, more portable. And we also see social media start to be created and adapt to that as well. So the last on our list is the 2010s. So in the 2010s, we see the emergence of 4G networks, iMessages, more advanced iPads, Instagram, Adobe Cloud, Kindles, Chromebooks, Snapchats. So we have the emergence of different types of portable tablets and laptops other than just Mac and Windows. We also have Chromebooks, which are a different format. And then with Snapchat and Instagram are 2 different social media platforms that were created. According to my dad, one of his comments he made was that he wishes that phones never actually went to the extreme that they are now, just because now he has an iPhone and uses maybe 5% of the capabilities that an iPhone is actually capable of doing. Phones and technology are very, very advanced, and there's so many things that you can do on your phone or on tablets these days rather than just doing it on your computer. And according to my dad, that is quote unquote extremely annoying. The 2010s, we did see a lot of technological progress, and in the 2020s, we are going to see more. So thank you for listening to my presentation on my dad's point of view on technology advances. And I hope you learned a little bit more about my dad and technology throughout the last couple of decades. Have a great day.